Back then, was there already a chance of getting out of Australia and touring other countries, or was it not in question?
Well, you know, because it was all independent, it took a while for the first album to kind of reach the stage where, you know, because it was all word of mouth, so it was just touring and building, and so that was kind of like a 2-year cycle. And by the end of that, there was probably a chance to go overseas, but by that time I'd felt like I'd played that album and I really needed to go back to being creative. So I sort of chose to go back and record the second album instead of going and then touring for another 2 or 3 years trying to build it somewhere else. And the second album was a pretty ambitious undertaking. The arrangements were bigger and there was orchestras and I was doing all this independently. So that took a while to get together. Mm.
And why this arrangements, this need for?
Well, you know, we go for what we don't have, right? And I think the first album was quite modest and done under tight means, and it's quite small sounding. It's just quite understated, you know. And hey, so what am I going to do next? 25-piece orchestra, you know. So yeah.
But do you know these people? Do you know an orchestra, or how do you arrange?
No, I had to work with people, string arrangers, and get musicians pulled in, and you know. So it took time. It took a long time.
Did it pay off?
Artistically, definitely, you know, and yeah, and the album did well in Australia as well. It was a bit of a darker album, I think, which is what I wanted to make at the time, and you know, yeah, artistically, it really, you know, I felt like I'd done what I wanted to do with that album. Yeah.
Do you have a clear view of who your fans are? What kind of people are interested?
You know, it's just really diverse actually, and I think that's great. You know, people are always surprised that at gigs, you know, there's like 18-year-olds and there's like 50-year-olds, and I just put it down to it's just people that, you know, they just kind of music is important to them, and they love the art of songwriting, and they just engage with the songs. I think particularly some of the songs, I guess, have a universality to them that a lot of people connect with. So the fact that it's really just broad and is great.
In Australia, when you're touring there, what do those cycles look like? Are you like 6 weeks on the road and do all the big cities, or how does that go?
Well, there's actually only even though Australia's, you know, huge, it's almost the size of America. There's like 7 major cities. So touring, you go play in a main city and maybe, you know, beside it in a smaller city, and then you come home, and you know, so these days I only do, you know, touring 3 or 4 days, come home, 3 or 4 days, come home. But back with the first album, it was a bit more like get in the van, you know, get on the road for a while, you know.
Because here in Holland it's just like you drive 200 miles and you're out of the country.
Oh, but I love that you drive an hour and you're at the next city for the next gig, you know. I mean, I wish we had that in Australia.
That's why I did come here in the first place.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I have to fly for every single show I do in Australia. I have to fly, and like, you know, I was doing a show in Rotterdam, and people were like, "Oh man, you're playing in Amsterdam. You're driving to Amsterdam tonight?" And I was just like, "Yeah, this would be like driving home for me after the show in Australia, you know."